Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. We have with us here Auntie Nita, then we have Ranjit Das, Ayush, Disha Jadwani, Disha Milwani, Divya, Karuna Jadwani, Khushbu, Lal and Mehak Milwani. We have Lavina, then we have Bhumika, we have Manju, Meena Bharwani, Rajiv Kumar, and Jagrati. Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? We saw a very, very important verse, which we said was also a key memory verse. What did that verse speak about? What does Krishna recommend in that verse?
Sacrifices?
No. Yeah, he spoke about sacrifices, but that's not the verse, the most important verse that I'm talking about.
Identifying your guru?
Yes, Krishna is recommending that one should accept a guru, one should accept a spiritual master, isn't it? So we said that we spoke about the considerations and the non-considerations when one should choose a spiritual master. An important point we discussed is one should choose a spiritual master who will show you the way, not one who will sanction your way, because this is the general tendency of people. I like to eat meat, so I will search a guru who will allow me to eat meat. Such a guru will not be able to take you back to the spiritual world, nor will he be able to. I mean, he himself, if for not following the rules and injunctions of the Shastra, then because he is not bona fide, then such a guru will go to hell and all his followers also will go with him to hell. Such gurus want money, they may want followers, they may want fame, but they do not have the ability to take you back to the spiritual world. So a bona fide guru is one who repeats the message of the Lord as it is. Another thing that we did not discuss is it important to have a living spiritual master? Or can we accept a guru who has passed away?
The living spiritual master.
It's very important to have a living spiritual master, isn't it? One can have, see, Srila Prabhupada is the default Shiksha Guru for everyone who's reading his books, because we are getting the knowledge because of him. If it was not for him who translated the message as it is, we would have not got this knowledge. So he's the Shiksha Guru for all of us. But Diksha Guru, one who gives us Diksha, one who gives us initiation, should be a living spiritual master. One cannot say that I will take directly initiation from Srila Prabhupada. Why?
Need always to have our clarify any doubts, to talk to
Yeah.
him, to accept him as a living spiritual master.
Okay,
They
so
are
what-
they are
I
Ritviks.
can
They are
read the
Ritviks who's giving initiation by Srila Prabhupada. They are Ritviks people.
Okay, yeah, but the point is, what is the error if I accept somebody who has passed away as my guru? Now, Ranjit said that one requires someone to guide us to answer our questions. But one may say that all the questions are already answered in Srila Prabhupada's books. It's already answered in the Shastras.
But still human many times we think that there is some questions which are unsolved still. Means
Okay, but what if one has already taken initiation and after that the spiritual master passes away, then
They appoint somebody else.
they
Before
appoint
that.
somebody else, okay, to answer the question. So one can take knowledge from somebody else. So why to accept a living spiritual master? What is the crucial thing that is missing when we accept? What are we cutting? What are we breaking? When we say that I'll accept Prabhupada as a guru and not a living.
To guide us.
No, guide even senior Vaishnavas can do, even the books can do.
Maybe even if he makes some mistakes, Guru is there to correct it.
Okay. But what if one takes initiation and then the spiritual master passes away in 1 week's time? Then?
We will follow his instruction.
Okay, so the instructions are already there in the books and in his recordings, in his classes.
But
So
generally
you mean to say
we
that
have-
if one who is means if I have taken initiative with a guru and he passes away, then the following guru is my guru or living guru? I think so.
No. Your Diksha Guru is the person who has accepted you as his disciple, and the one who has given you Diksha, he is only your guru.
Okay.
Another person, another senior Vaishnava can become he can guide you, he can clear your doubts, clear your questions.
Right. Okay.
But see, Diksha Guru is the person who takes your karma. Diksha Guru is the one who, to whom you have promised that I will follow these
Follow
rules
these gurus.
and the guru takes the responsibility of taking his disciple back home, back to Godhead. So that the person from whom you have taken Diksha, only he is your Diksha Guru.
Yes.
But the point is, when we are taking Diksha, the person should be alive. We cannot take Diksha from a person who has already passed away.
Yes.
Because the crucial thing that is missing there is, if we say that we take initiation from someone who's already passed away, what are we cutting is we are cutting the disciplic succession. We are cutting the Guru Parampara itself. Then everybody can take initiation from Srila Prabhupada. Then what is the meaning of Guru Parampara? So we cannot skip. We cannot after grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. So step by step, through the Guru, we can approach the Acharyas and we can approach Krishna. So if somebody says that I want to take initiation directly from Srila Prabhupada, then why to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada? Better to take initiation from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of Prabhupada. Or why even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Let's take initiation from his Guru, his Guru, his Guru. Let's take initiation directly from Krishna. Then why to take initiation from Guru also? I accept Krishna as my spiritual master. No, that is the error in this thought process. Okay, that's why it's very important to accept the living
Guru,
spiritual master. Another
Guru-
important point is that this is like a contract between two personalities, and both people should agree to that contract. Just like in a marriage, if a boy says, I accept so and so as my wife, but even that girl has to accept that man as the husband, isn't it? So the relationship between guru and disciple also is like that. The one may want to accept Prabhupada as a guru, but we don't know if Prabhupada is ready to accept us as a disciple. Because he has passed away. So both parties have to accept each
He
other.
does come in a devotee's. He also comes in devotees' dreams just to let them know if somebody has a desire to get initiated by Prabhupada sends them to the devotees who are giving initiation from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada comes in their dreams as well, the devotees' dreams, that if this is
Okay.
your desire, and it will be fulfilled.
Yes. But not everybody has the good fortune of getting Prabhupada in their dreams. But we are talking about, yes, that's correct. What you're saying is right. But the point is, we need to accept initiation from a spiritual master who is alive. We cannot skip the disciplic succession for these reasons. Yeah, Bhumika, you have your hand raised.
I want to ask then, how come Meera has accepted Krishna as his guru, right?
No,
No.
Mirabai did
Meera's
not
guru.
accept Krishna as the guru. She accepted him as her lover, not guru. She had another guru who trained her, who taught her songs, bhajans, and then she composed many bhajans.
I believe
See
he was
what-
Raidas.
See, the relationship that Mirabai shared with Krishna is what we discussed as the 5 rasas, right? We discussed 5 rasas, how each of us relates to Krishna in a particular way. So what are the 5 rasas? Shanta ras, Dasya ras, Sakhya ras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. Sakhya ras, you relate to Krishna in the neutral form. Dasya ras, you relate to Krishna as a servant, just like how Hanuman related to Ram as a servant. Then Sakhya ras is friendship, Arjuna and Krishna. Then Vatsalya ras is parental, that is Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj. They are in parental relationship with Krishna. And Madhurya ras is the gopis, the paramount, as a lover. So that's the gopis and Srimati Radharani. So that's what Mirabai shared with Krishna was, what you're talking about is one of the 5 rasas. That is a different subject matter. We are talking about a spiritual master who connects you to Krishna. By the mercy of the Guru, you get Krishna. By the mercy of Krishna, you get Guru. Like that. So this was one point that I had forgotten to mention when we considered when we spoke about the considerations and non-considerations of accepting a bona fide spiritual master. So we have to accept a spiritual master who is still alive, not from someone who has passed away. Okay, let's complete chapter 4.
We finished 37.
Yes, we have to start from 38.
8.
Okay, who can read today?
I can read.
Okay, Bhumika, thank you. Let's hear the verse.
न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति.
In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time.
So remember, the title of this chapter is Transcendental Knowledge. And here Krishna is glorifying transcendental knowledge by saying that there is nothing so sublime. There is nothing so sublime and there is nothing so pure as transcendental knowledge. So this spiritual knowledge, this transcendental knowledge is the purest. It's the purest. It is unparalleled. It is unparalleled. And as we are proceeding, I'm sure many of you are realizing this also, that we may have spent so many years in our schools and colleges, but we don't receive the kind of happiness and the kind of satisfaction we get even after so many years of material education that we are getting within a few weeks or a few months of learning this Bhagavad Gita. So there is nothing so pure that, and because it is pure, it touches our heart. We discussed how anything that's pure is something that appeals to us very naturally. So Krishna is saying that there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. See, when we go to schools and colleges, they teach us how we can better our life in the prison house. So how to make the fan running better, how to get better quality bread, or how to get better tools when the prisoners are working. All this is what the material education is teaching us. Material education only teaches us what is matter. That's all, what is matter. But spiritual education tells us what matters. What matters is how we are going to come out of the prison house. So this is what is spiritual education. And what is Krishna saying? Such knowledge is the mature fruit. One second, I'm not able to see. Mature fruit of all mysticism. So when we do bhakti yoga, when we engage in devotional service, then automatically it leads to knowledge. Why? Because it gives us realizations. One does not have to be even educated. I mean, one may be a complete illiterate, but one can get realizations. When we engage in bhakti, then we get realizations, and Krishna shows us more and more, and our knowledge also increases. So knowledge leads to bhakti, and bhakti also leads to knowledge. So what is Krishna saying? Anyone who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So it takes time, okay? Krishna is saying in due course of time it will happen. So it's not some kind of a magic trick that, okay, today I do some devotional service and immediately I should get realizations. No, it will take some time. So we need to be determined, and we need to be focused, and we need to be constant. If we do something for a few days, then give it up, again do something for a few days, again give it up, then it's not going to give the ideal results. Just as how if we have a plant and one day we put a lot of water in the plant, then we don't water the plant for the next 5 days, then again on the 6th day I put 10 liters of water in the plant. Is the plant going to grow very nicely? It's not going to grow nicely, isn't it? So we need to be constant. So in due course of time, definitely we will see the results. See, previously we were discussing, if you remember, in a couple of classes before, we spoke about Bahu Ishwaravadis. Bahu Ishwaravadis, those who worship many gods. So what are they looking for when they worship all these different gods? It's just that they want their own desire to be fulfilled. For example, what will happen is let's say they are worshipping a particular devata, and then they are doing some vrata, and for some reason their desire is not fulfilled, because karma is so complex, we cannot understand. For some reason, let's say the desire is not fulfilled, then immediately they'll start to worship some other devata. Oh no, this devata is not fulfilling my desire, now I'll worship some other devata. Then again that other devata also, probably the person is still doing some karma kanda activities to please the devata. Maybe a neighbor will say, you know what, I worship so and so god, and then immediately my son was able to get a medical seat. So immediately the person will start worshipping this other devata. So this is called Bahu Ishwara Vadis. But of course, pure bhakti means we don't lose faith, we continue in the process, because we have the perfect formula. Srila Prabhupada has given us a perfect formula. The Acharyas have given us a perfect formula. So if we do the experiment, definitely we are bound to get the results. In the chemical laboratory, when we go and the teacher teaches us, okay, you mix this salt with this particular liquid, you will get this solution, right? Now, if you do that experiment as the teacher has instructed you, definitely you will get the result. If you're not getting the result, it's because the experiment has gone wrong somewhere. I have not done the experiment properly. So if we just follow the instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, definitely the result will come in due course of time. Let's go to 39.
श्रद्धावान् लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परां शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति.
A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace.
So here Krishna is talking about the qualifications of someone who, the qualifications of one who can receive transcendental knowledge. So he's talking about three qualifications. So what are the three qualifications? First of all, Krishna is saying faithful. One has to be faithful. One has to have faith in the process, faith in the Shastra, faith in the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So first thing, one should have faith. Then the person should be dedicated, day in and day out, dedicated, never give up. One has to be dedicated. And three, one who's able to control his senses, subdues his senses. So one who's faithful, who's dedicated and can control his senses, such a person is eligible to receive transcendental knowledge. Because if a person doesn't have faith, he does not have dedication, he cannot control his senses, then he will not be able to understand. He can read. Because he is educated, he can read the alphabets, he can read the sentences, but he will never be able to understand it in the true sense. And then what happens when one is qualified and receives such knowledge, then what does he achieve? Krishna uses the word param shantim. He receives supreme spiritual peace. Without this, we cannot attain peace. Many people, when they go to spiritual people, they say, give me peace, I want peace. But they will not be able to get peace if they are engaging in their own sense gratification. Prabhu Nirantara, he is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he is also my Shiksha Guru. Some of you may know him. He has visited Santiago, and in the previous batch, he gave some classes as well. So he tells this story that he was giving a class, and then one lady walked up to him at the end of the class and said that, Swamiji, please give me peace. So then Prabhuji asked her, so do you drink wine? Do you drink alcohol? She said, oh yes, definitely. If social functions, I drink alcohol. Okay, do you eat meat? Oh yes, I love to eat meat. Do you gamble? Oh, all the weekends I'm in the casino. So then Prabhuji said, I'm sorry, I cannot give you peace. How can there be peace if you're engaging in sinful activities? People think that there should be a magical wand that the spiritual people should take out, or the Swamiji will take out a magical wand and say, okay, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way.
अज्ञश्चाश्रद्दधानश्च संशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः.
But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is
Happiness.
I can't see it.
Okay, for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next.
Next.
So what does Krishna say? See, in the previous verse, Krishna spoke about who is qualified to receive transcendental knowledge. Here he's talking about those who are not qualified to receive transcendental knowledge. So who are the ones who are not qualified? Krishna says ignorant. Those who are ignorant, then he says faithless persons. And three, those who doubt. So the ignorant people, ajnana, Krishna says, are not qualified. Then ashraddhadana, those who do not have faith. And then he says, those who doubt. So the doubters, the faithless and the ignorant, they are not qualified to receive transcendental knowledge. Then Krishna is saying, for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. See here, Prabhupada writes in the purport that who are the ignorant people? Persons who are almost like animals, have no knowledge of standard revealed scriptures. So modern education, schools and colleges, that's what they are making people. They are making people more animalistic, more only thing they are sophisticated animals. They are only eating, sleeping, mating and defending like animals, but they are eating in a probably in a good restaurant, sleeping in a nice house, but the activities are the same. So they are only making two-legged sophisticated animals out of the people, because there is no scriptural knowledge that is given to them. Then those who are faithless, the faithless, they have knowledge of the Shastras. Knowledge is there, but they do not have the faith in that Shastra. Then 3, the doubters. These doubters, they have faith, but they are swayed by the doubt that will this process be effective in my case? Somehow people think that, oh yes, it's there, and have faith. Yes, it's true. What Lord Ram said is true. What Lord Krishna said is true. But in my case, it will not work. Or now, aajkal ke zamane mein, it will not work. No, nowadays it will not work. Kali Yuga, it will not work. Or in my situation, it will not work. So these are the doubters. So these 3 are not qualified to receive transcendental knowledge.
योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं ज्ञानसंच्छिन्नसंशयम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय.
One who acts in devotional service renounces the fruits of his actions and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work or conqueror of riches.
See, Krishna spoke about the doubters in the previous verse, that the doubters are not qualified. So how to remove these doubts is what Krishna is explaining in verse number 41. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Now, what do you mean by situated factually in the self? What does it mean to be self-situated? What is the self? What are we? We are eternally servants of God.
Soul.
That is our
God.
position, isn't it? We are spirit souls. We are parts and parcels of the Lord. We are eternally his servants. Now, because we are servants, we have to serve. So we have to serve means we have to engage in devotional service. So how can, being situated faction itself means we know our position that we are servants. So we put Krishna in the center of our lives. It's only natural. Once you get the knowledge that we are the servants, so we want to serve him. So we will put Krishna in the center of our life. We will not put ourselves in the center of our life. So then such a person is not bound by the reactions of work, because whatever we do only to please the Lord. Just like how Arjuna will fight the war only to please Krishna. If Arjuna had fought the war because he wants to be king, or because he wants to take revenge, or because he hates the Kauravas, then the whole scenario would have been very different. But if Arjuna, because Arjuna fought with this consciousness that I am fighting this war because Krishna wants me to fight the war, therefore he will not take the reaction of his fighting. So the activity is the same, isn't it? The activity of fighting is the same, but the scenario changes depending on the consciousness of the person. The last verse of this chapter.
तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्थं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत.
Oh, wait 1 second.
ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानकर्मसन्न्यासयोगो नाम चतुर्थोऽध्यायः.
Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight.
So again, Krishna, now he's urging Arjuna to fight. He's ending the chapter by telling Arjuna that remove all your doubts. How to remove the doubts? By the weapon of transcendental knowledge. And then, therefore, stand and fight, O Arjuna, Krishna is saying. Now, again, Arjuna is confused. Why? Because here, Krishna is talking about acting in devotional service. And here again, he's telling him to stand up and fight. So Arjuna is saying, again, I'm receiving instructions that appear to be contradictory. So Arjuna is again going to be confused, and he is going to start chapter 5 with the question. So we will see that chapter now in a few minutes. You can read the summaries. I mean, you can read the summary of this chapter when I share the slides in the group. Okay, and with this, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we come to the end of chapter number 4. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Okay, now I want to share the screen. So that we can discuss a little bit before we start chapter number 5. So far, we have covered 4 chapters. Chapter 1, we saw observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we saw who are the warriors on the opposite side. We saw Dhritarashtra's inquiring from Sanjaya. And we saw how Arjuna and the conch shells are also blown. And even after the conch shells are blown, indicating the start of the war, Arjuna tells Krishna, take my chariot in the middle of the 2 parties. And then we saw Arjuna is completely confused, completely bewildered. And he comes up with his reasons why he should not fight the war. Then in chapter 2, we saw very, very crucial verse where eventually Arjuna surrenders to Krishna in shloka number 7. And it is after this verse only that Krishna begins to instruct Arjuna, after Arjuna has surrendered. So now in this verse, in this chapter, Krishna goes on to explain the difference between the body and the soul. And then see here in verse number 39, this is called as the transitional verse, if you may recall. This is a transitional verse because here Krishna says that so far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. So what is this analytical study? We discussed is Sankhya Yoga. We are going to use these terms now in chapter 5. So that therefore we are doing a recap. What is Sankhya Yoga? Sankhya Yoga is a study of the difference between the soul and the body, the difference between the material and the spiritual. Then Krishna says, now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. So here Krishna says he's going to talk about Buddhi Yoga, working without getting the results. And then Krishna says, when you work like this, then you are free from bondage. And then Krishna goes on to speak about Karma Yoga in this section that follows. And then here, in 54, Krishna asks a question. He is asking Krishna, what are the symptoms of a sthita pragya? What are the symptoms of a person whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? What is the one? So how does he walk? What is his language? How does he sit, etc.? And then for the next verses, Krishna is explaining the characteristics of a person who is fixed up in Krishna consciousness, who is merged in transcendence of a sthita pragya. So when he talks about all these things, as he explains the characteristics of a sthita pragya, Krishna, what does he talk about? Generally, he's talking about controlling the senses, right? He's talking about don't be disturbed by the incessant flows of desires. He's talking about being self-controlled and all that. And then, okay, here, one second, I missed one point here. Where is the transitional verse? See here. Here in 37, Krishna urged Arjuna, get up with determination and fight. Okay. So here he told him, you fight. And then he spoke this transitional verse. And then when he spoke about Sthita Pragya, he's talking about self-control and he's talking about peace, right? And he's talking about don't be disturbed by the desires, etc., etc. So that leaves Arjuna confused. And chapter 3 begins with Arjuna asking, He's telling him that I am confused, I am bewildered by your equivocal instructions. What is better? Intelligence is better than fruitive work, or fruitive work is better than intelligence. So Arjuna is thinking that Krishna is giving him instructions that are contradictory to each other. And so that's why he's saying that I'm confused by your equivocal instructions. So which is better? Intelligence or fruitive work, karma or jnana? So then Krishna, he answers Arjuna's question in this chapter until Arjuna comes up with a question again. Does anybody remember that question? See here, this question we discussed. So see, up till verse number 35, Krishna was answering Arjuna's question and he spoke about karma yoga. When Arjuna asked, which is better? So then in 36, again, Arjuna asked a question, by what is one impelled to sinful activities, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So what is it that forces us to do sinful activity, even though we don't want to do it? That time Krishna says that it is lust. And then Krishna goes on to explain where is lust situated. And then he ends the chapter by saying that this lust can be conquered by spiritual strength. So for this spiritual strength, what do we need? Spiritual intelligence. And this is what led Krishna to discussing transcendental knowledge in chapter number 4. So remember here actually Krishna in chapter 3, because of this first question by Arjuna, Krishna is talking karma yoga for most of this chapter until Arjuna asked this question, what is it that forces one to act sinfully even though one does not want to act? So Krishna is answering that question of Arjuna on lust, isn't it? And that discussion led him to speak about transcendental knowledge, which is chapter 4. And then Krishna spoke about how this knowledge was passed down, how he actually originally spoke it to the sun god, and then he talks about disciplic succession and all these things. So this discussion Krishna carries on till 15, verse number 15. Then from verse number 16 onwards, Krishna goes back to discussing karma yoga, which Krishna was speaking to Arjuna in chapter 3. Okay, so from 16 onwards, Krishna goes back to talking karma yoga. And therefore he talks about karma, vikarma, akarma. And then he says that the intelligent person who sees action and inaction, and inaction and action, right? And so like that, for this whole chapter, again, for the rest of this chapter, Krishna discusses again karma yoga. But now again, he is ending the chapter by saying, armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. So again, Arjuna is confused. And the chapter 5 again begins with Arjuna asking the exact same question that he asked in the beginning of chapter number 3. So it appears that Arjuna has still not understood that when you work with knowledge, when you work keeping the Lord in the center, then you do not take the reaction. Still, Arjuna is thinking that they are two different things. In his mind, they are still contradictory instructions. So Arjuna repeats the exact same question in the beginning of chapter 5, which he asked in the beginning of chapter number 3. So here the discussion continues on karma yoga. This is a relatively shorter chapter. It has 29 verses. And because Krishna is going to talk more, I mean, he's talking the same things that he spoke in chapter 3, but now it goes into greater detail. Therefore, this chapter is titled Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. See this chapter. So as we discussed, this chapter is titled Karma Yoga, Action, Krishna Consciousness. It has 29 verses. But before we proceed with the shlokas of this chapter, we need to understand the Gita Mahatmya, or the reason or the benefit that we get, or the fruits that we get by reading, reciting, learning, hearing this particular chapter. So Gita Mahatmya is from the Padma Purana. Padma Purana is a conversation between Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. And then this conversation is again spoken by Lord Shiva to Goddess Parvati. So what is this chapter all about? So Lord Vishnu is saying, in the state of Madra, there was a town called Puru Kutsapur. And in this town, there was a Brahmana called Pingala. Now, Pingala, during his childhood, he was trained in Brahmanical activities and he was taught the Vedas, but he had no interest in those studies. He was more interested in singing, dancing, playing the musical instruments. And so he gave up all his Brahmanical pursuits and he learned these other things, singing, dancing, and playing the instruments. And then he was so good at it over a period of time that the king himself invited him to come and live in the palace. And there he was serving the king in the palace. But because he was living in that palace, he became down. It led to his downgrade. He became very degraded and he started to engage in many, many sinful activities. He started to enjoy with the wives of other men and he engaged in all kinds of intoxication and so many other sinful activities. And because he was working for the king, because he was living in the palace, he also became very proud of his position. And he also became very intimate with the king. So it led to his pride. And we know that pride pride comes before a fall, we say, no? So what happened was, he even enjoyed criticizing others. And now this Pingala, he got married and he had a wife. The wife's name was Aruna. Aruna also was from a low-class family. She was very lusty. She also enjoyed relationships with other men after marriage. And when her husband found out about her activities, she decided to kill him. So the husband knows that the wife is going to other men. So therefore, she decided to kill him. And one day she just chopped off his head and buried his body in the garden. Now, because Pingala himself also was living a sinful life, he went to hell. And after suffering in the hellish planets for several years, then he took birth as a vulture. Meanwhile, Aruna, she's of course still alive. And she now is freely enjoying with other men. The husband is not there anymore. But because of that, she has contracted a disease, an STD. And because of that disease, her youthful body has now very, very soon become very ugly and become very unattractive. Eventually, she also dies. And she also goes to hell for several years. And then after having suffered in hell for a long time, she attains the body of a female parrot. So the husband has now become a vulture and the wife has now become a parrot. One day this parrot was searching for food and then the vulture also happens to see this parrot. Now the vulture remembered the previous life. He remembers that in the previous life I was Pingala and this female parrot was actually my wife Aruna. So this vulture remembers everything. So the vulture decides to, now he wants to attack this parrot. So the vulture attacks the parrot with his sharp beaks. Immediately the parrot falls down. And it so happens that the parrot fell down in a human skull, which was upside down. It was filled with water. So this parrot goes and falls into that skull. And in the water of that skull, this parrot drowns. Then a hunter comes across and he sees this vulture and he decides to shoot this vulture with the arrow. So the vulture also falls down. He drops down dead into that same water of that same skull. And he also drowned in that water. Now both these personalities, now they are in the court of Yamaraj. They are taken to Yamaraj and they are both very scared because now they remember their past sinful activities and they are thinking that again we will have to go and suffer in hell. But then when they came in front of Yamaraj, Yamaraj told them that now you are free of all the sins and you can go to Vaikuntha. And they are both shocked. They're like, how come we are free and we don't have to go to hell? And how can we go to Vaikuntha? So that time Yamaraj explains to them. He tells them that on the banks of the river Ganga, there lived a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. His name was Vat, V-A-T. And he was completely free from lust and greed. And every day he would recite the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, when he gave up his body, immediately he went to Vaikuntha. And because he was reciting the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day, his body became completely pure. And that skull in which both of you fell was actually the skull of that great devotee. And by falling into that skull, and because you died in the water that was in that skull, therefore you are completely liberated from all your sinful activities. And therefore you can proceed to Vaikuntha. So this is the glory of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So then what happens? The airplane descends, both of them board the airplane and they proceed to Vaikuntha. So Falashruti is anyone who hears the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, even the most sinful, will attain Vaikuntha. So this is the Falashruti of chapter number 5. This chapter is divided into 6 sections. The first section is where Krishna again answers the same question that Arjuna has, which we just discussed. Let's hear the shloka.
अथ पञ्चमोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेययेतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of two is more beneficial?
So again, Arjuna has the same confusion, and he's saying that you are telling me to renounce and then you're telling me to work. So Arjuna does not understand that work and renunciation can go hand in hand. It's the same thing. When you work with Krishna in the center, then it is equal to renunciation. But for Arjuna, these are still two different concepts. Okay, these are two different concepts. So again, Arjuna is saying, please tell me definitely, su nishchitam, tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial, is Arjuna's question. So which is better, work with devotion or renunciation of work? Because in Arjuna's mind, renunciation means this, no work. You leave the house, go to the forest, and working means this. He's fighting the war, people are getting killed, right? So in his mind, these are two different things. This connection between the chapters we have already explained, we have already discussed. So we will not discuss it again. You can read the slides when I share it in the group. See, here is a comparison between Arjuna's question 3.1 and 5.1. See here, Arjuna's doubt in 3.1, work or renunciation. Fight the war or go to the forest and cultivate knowledge. In reply, Krishna spoke about work, karma yoga, in chapter 3, and spoke about renunciation, jnana yoga, in chapter number 4. Now Arjuna again thinks work and renunciation are not compatible. He doesn't know what to follow. Should I follow chapter 3 or should I follow chapter number 4? Therefore, now Krishna speaks chapter number 5. So work plus knowledge is equal to Krishna conscious activity. So chapter 3 plus chapter 4 is equal to chapter number 5. Broadly speaking, Krishna has already explained it, but here, because more of these verses in these particular chapters were dedicated to this particular subject matter, therefore here we are making a broader distinction. So one may think that how is it that Arjuna has not understood, although Krishna has answered Arjuna's question? How come Arjuna has not understood? Arjuna has gone to the Gurukul. He's had a good spiritual master. He's intelligent. He was actually the best student. So how come Arjuna has not understood? So one should understand that it is Krishna's plan that Arjuna remains confused, because their dialogue is actually taking place for our benefit, not for Arjuna's benefit. Arjuna is already a self-realized soul. It's not that Arjuna does not know, but this is like a role play. This is like a drama for our benefit. So Arjuna's perplexity gives Krishna the chance to stress further that work and renunciation are not opposed to each other. So here Krishna further stresses that which he has already explained, that renunciation and work are not opposite of each other. We have to combine both, and that way we are not bound by the reactions. Let's hear Krishna's message.
श्रीभगवानुवाच Sannyasah karma yogascha nishreyasakaravubhau tayostu karma sannyasa karma yoga vishishyate.
The personality of God replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than the renunciation of work.
So see, Krishna is saying renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. Some people may say that it's important to give up materialism. It's important to be renounced. So therefore, we have to renounce the world and we have to live in that renounced stage of life for liberation. Because if we are not renounced, then we will be bound. On the other side, one may say that no, but we have certain duties, we have prescribed duties. So we have to do our duty. Now, Krishna is saying that both are correct. Both statements are correct. So Krishna is not giving a counter argument. Krishna is giving a counter balancing argument. He's saying both are correct. But still Krishna is saying, of the two, work in devotional service is better than mere renunciation of work. The point is, we don't want to renounce work. What is it that we want to renounce? We want to renounce the fruits of the work. That is real renunciation. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita's message is not to renounce the work. It's to renounce the fruits of the work. Don't be attached to the results. And that is equal to devotional service. See, if we have to compare two paths, path of action and the path of renouncing action. What's the problem with the path of action? Action means it's a cause of material bondage. So here action means when we are doing activities for our own sense gratification. So it is a cause of material bondage. And as long as the activities are aimed at improving our own bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate through all these 8,400,000 different kinds of bodies. Okay, so path of action is a cause of material bondage. So then what? We have to renounce action, give up action. So now what's the problem here? Even this other path of renouncing action is not sufficient for liberation. Why? Because one has to act in the status of the spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not purify the heart. So if the heart is not purified, our hearts are still longing for materialistic desires, then if we renounce, even if we leave the home, we renounce the family, we are in the forest, we are completely cut off from friends, relatives, family, still because the mind and the heart is impure, we will not be able to, actually we are not renounced, right? We are only renounced externally, but internally the renunciation has not yet taken place. So therefore what happens? It leads to there is always a risk of falling down. So what happened is this person who has now taken renunciation, he's in the forest. Eventually the old habits will come back to him because his mind, his heart is still on material sense gratification. So this is what Krishna is talking about when he says that work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work, because mere renunciation of work means because the heart and mind are not yet purified, he's still thinking about contemplating, his senses are still contemplating on a materialistic life. This is actually not renunciation. Here this person is engaging in all kinds of activities. He's gone to the supermarket, right? He's tasting Krishna Prasad. He's hearing Kirtan. He's worshipping the deities. So he's smelling the flowers. He's gone to the supermarket to purchase things so that he can offer to the Lord. So he is engaged in all kinds of activities. See, externally speaking, the one who's engaged in activities is him and the one who's renounced is him. But who is in a better position? Who has lesser chances of falling down? It is him, because he has engaged all his senses in the service of the Lord. Krishna is in the center of his life. Here, Krishna is not in the center of his life. He has put himself in the center of his life. So this is why Krishna says that this is better than mere renunciation. Working in devotion is better than mere renunciation. Actually, Srila Rupa Goswami explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion, he explains two terms, Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. So what is Falgu Vairagya? It is incomplete renunciation. So what is that? To renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them material with desire for liberation. So that is incomplete. Because we are thinking that all these things are actually material. So I want to renounce it. Just as how we discussed how one may think that money is material, so we give up money. But what is complete renunciation is you use everything in the service of the Lord, thinking that everything belongs to the Lord. Nothing can exist without connection to the Lord. So you don't claim the proprietorship. You don't think that you are the owner of anything. Everything belongs to the Lord. So you use everything in His service. A devotee, Prabhupada would say that devotee means you look at a beautiful flower on the road also, and immediately you think that, oh, this flower is so beautiful. I should offer it to the Lord, like that. So you see everything as a property of the Lord, and you use everything in the service of the Lord. That is complete renunciation. That is Yukta Vairagya. So renunciation without Krishna consciousness, if you are not in the right consciousness, then that renunciation is incomplete. That is Falgu Vairagya.
Yeyas sanitya sannyasi yo nadveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna.
Here Krishna is giving the definition of a Nitya Sannyasi. See here, Nitya Sannyasi. Who is a Nitya Sannyasi? One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activity. So you don't desire any fruits. And when the fruits come also, even if they don't appear to be in your favor, still you will not hate the result. Because one who's completely renounced, one who's a Nitya Sannyasi, is one who is not attached to the fruits. Whatever the fruit may be, whether it appears to be favorable to you or unfavorable to you, you just accept it as Krishna's mercy. That Krishna says, such a person free from all dualities. Dualities means, we discuss, heat, cold, favorable, unfavorable. So he's free from all dualities. When something is favorable, he's not excited. And when something is not favorable, he's not morose. He's equipoised. So such a person easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, Krishna says. So here we see the definition of a Nitya Sannyasi, one who's always renounced.
Sankhya yoga prathak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyasthita samyak uhayor vindate phalam.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, that is Karma Yoga, as being different from the analytic study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
So see, we just discussed these terms, Sankhya Yoga. What is Sankhya Yoga? We discussed the analytical study of the material world, or the study of the difference between matter and spirit, the difference between the body and the soul. So that kind of analytical study, you make a difference. Okay, this is material, this is spiritual. This is good for me. This is not good for me. This is good for me, like that. So that analytical study, that is Sankhya Yoga. And Karma Yoga is, of course, devotional service. You work because you want to please the Lord. So what is Krishna saying here actually? He's saying that they are both they will one who follows even one of these two will achieve the results of both. If one is doing Sankhya Yoga, one will get the results of both Karma and Sankhya. If one is doing Karma Yoga, one will get the results of both Karma and Sankhya. So Krishna is saying that only the ignorant speak of these two terms as two different things. Actually, one who applies himself well to any one of these paths will achieve the results of both. Now, how is that possible? let us try to understand. So Sankhya Yoga, analytical study of matter and spirit. Distinguish between the two to reject matter and accept spirit. You want to reject the material and to accept the spiritual. So one understands that investment in matter is a waste of time and energy as the results are temporary. We may put in so much effort, so much time, so much energy in accumulating so much wealth and properties and etc., etc., etc. But then one understands when one has this Sankhya Yoga, one does this analytical study of matter and spirit, one understands that it is only a waste of time and energy. Why? Because it will only last as long as we are in this current body, and maybe not even as long as we are in the current body, right? So results are temporary. But investment in spiritual brings great returns and permanent results. Why permanent results? Because whatever we do in our spiritual life, whatever devotional activity we do, that result we carry even life after life after life after life. That is never gone. That spiritual bank balance remains with us, no matter where we are, no matter what we do. Nobody can take it away from us. But that's not the material calculation. Material calculation, everything we have to, whatever, we may be highly educated, we may be Miss Universe, one may be rich, one may have great contacts, one may be the most famous man in the universe, but it'll only last so long. So that is Sankhya Yoga. So the process of making the investment, activity of investing in spirit, is called Bhakti Yoga. So Sankhya Yoga tells you where to make the investment, and Bhakti Yoga makes you make that investment. Now one may study the market and one may analyze a market and say, okay, currently the best investment is so and so. Fine. So what is the next natural step is that one will go and make that investment. Otherwise, why will one study the market and why will one analyze which is the best investment to make? One is not going to say, okay, the best investment to make is so and so, but I am going to go and invest in something else. It doesn't make sense, isn't it? So it's only natural that Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga complement each other. After we do the analysis, we distinguish between matter and spirit, then it's only natural that we will engage in spiritual activities. Therefore, Krishna is saying that they both complement each other. If you do any one, automatically you'll get the results of both. So one process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. So Sankhya Yoga means you're searching which is the root of the tree. Now, once you come to know which is the root of the tree, because you have made a distinction between matter and spirit. So now you know which is the root of the tree. The next natural step is you go and water the root. So Bhakti Yoga is you are watering the root of the tree. So that's why Krishna is saying that they are not opposite things. One naturally leads to the other. So Srila Prabhupada very, very nicely explains this in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says, the aim of the analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, or the Supersoul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the Supersoul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two, because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end say that the purposes of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. So nicely, Srila Prabhupada has explained this. Let's go to the 5th verse.
Yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati.
One who knows that the position reached by the means of analytic study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytic study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
So here Krishna is emphasizing the same point that he made in the previous verse, that Sankhya and Bhakti are on the same level. They are not two different things. from the purport. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So Sankhya, one is detached. And in Bhakti Yoga, one is attached. But in Sankhya, one is detached to what? One is detached from matter. In Bhakti Yoga, one is attached to whom? One is attached to Krishna. So factually, both processes are the same. Although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who sees this, sees things as they are. Both Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga involve renunciation. The question is whether one should work with detachment or renounce work altogether. Now, Krishna's answer is consistent and clear. These are not two different paths with two different goals, but aspects of the same path with the same goal. Now, how are renunciation and work the same? If I am holding a rock in my hand and I want to pick up my bead bag, I drop the rock to free my hand. Then I pick up the bead bag. Similarly, someone who is attached to his material desires must first drop his material connection before picking up spiritual taste. However, these two steps can be performed as one step. By picking up one object, I will automatically drop the other. So just see, because I want to pick up something and if I already have it in my hand, obviously when I go to pick it up, what I'm already holding in my hand is going to be dropped by default. It's going to automatically happen. So Karma Yoga done with detachment allows us to become materially detached and spiritually attached at the same time. Now, what are we trying to say here? The point is, to engage in Bhakti Yoga, if I'm going to say that first I want to detach myself, I want to perfect myself, I want to come to the point where I'm not attached to family, I'm not attached to money, I'm not attached to wealth, I'm not attached to beauty. After I detach myself completely, then only I will start chanting the holy name. Then I will take to Bhakti. So this is what we are trying to say here. It's not necessary that you have to do. When you go to pick up your bead bag, automatically what you're holding in the hand, you're going to drop it. So when we engage in Bhakti Yoga, by default, automatically we will be detached. It will happen automatically. It will definitely happen over a period of time. So those who have experience in chanting will be able to tell you that when chanting started, one would have still been in the state where one was still engaging in sinful activities. Probably someone was still very much attached to so many other different things. But after the person starts to chant, then automatically you lose the taste for these other lower propensities. It happens automatically. It happens by default. You don't like to do the things that you previously loved to do. Probably someone loved to watch cricket. Probably someone loved to watch Bollywood movies. But as you take to chanting, then you develop the taste for chanting. And when you develop a higher taste, then these lower propensities automatically they go away. Automatically they go away. It happens by default. You don't have to separately endeavor to first be detached. Some people they think that first let me do all this, let me get detached, then I will take to Bhakti. No. It can happen. Simultaneously it will happen. 5.6.
Sannyasasthu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayo gatah yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadhigacchati.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
So merely renouncing activities and not engaging in devotional service will not make you happy. One may be renounced, one may be detached. But if you're not engaging in devotional service, if you're not engaging in seva, one will not be happy. Because we all know, anybody who has done any kind of devotional service, you will know that how satisfied one feels at the end of it, how happy one feels at the end of it. It's not the I mean, nobody pays you, nobody gives you a salary, but still you're doing it as a seva. But still you get a lot of satisfaction and happiness compared to the satisfaction and happiness you may get at the end of the month when you receive your paycheck. So Krishna is saying that if you just renounce, but you're not engaged in devotional service, you will not be happy. But if you're engaged in devotional service, then you can achieve the supreme without duty. So the process immediately happens. You see, bhakti yoga puts you on a fast track. It puts you on that elevator, which is going to take you to the top floor of the building very quickly compared to climbing the staircase. It will take you there, but it will take you longer time. So bhakti yoga puts you on the fast track process. If we renounce activities before our hearts are clean, we will be forced by our unclean hearts to engage in improper activities. The senses will demand engagement, but the Jnana Yoga process forbids sense activity. Unless the senses are engaged in good work, it will be difficult to stop improper work. Krishna therefore recommends keeping the senses always engaged while simultaneously purifying the heart by working with detachment. This is the practical and therefore better path. Now see, she's here. She's externally it appears she's renounced. No, if we just see the picture without these things around her, then we think that, oh, she's a very renounced person. But see what's going on in her mind. She's trying to chant Om. Then she says, oh, why did I leave home? I was better off there. Then again, she's trying to chant Om, and then it's too cold today. Then she's thinking, I hope all is well with my family. They must be missing me. Then she's saying, oh, I want to eat chips. Oh, I'm feeling hungry. But then again, she's trying to chant Om. So this is what happens when we take renunciation before our hearts are clean. This is called premature renunciation. So what happens? It is most probable that she is going to fall down from her position. She is not going to be able to maintain her so-called renounced stature. She will definitely go back to what she was doing previously. Old habits are going to come back to her. Therefore, it's very, very important that hearts are cleaned before renunciation. But when we take to bhakti yoga, then simultaneously the purification of the heart takes place by default. Automatically, it will happen. It will definitely, for sure, happen. To personally see it, you have to take the process. I give this example many times, no? That I mean, one can explain to you in so many different ways the glories of bhakti yoga. One can explain to you, let's say you have never eaten gulab jamun, and you ask, oh, what does it taste like? So they may be able to explain to you, it is soft, it is sweet, it is juicy, it melts in the mouth. So many ways one can explain. But unless you eat one yourself, you will not know what is really the taste of that gulab jamun. So in the same way, bhakti yoga process is like that. We can say so many things, but when you yourself do that process, when you yourself take the chanting and you get the realizations, then you will know for yourself that yes, this is so glorious and so wonderful. So here you have a chart which is from verses of the 5th chapter, and one is there from chapter 3. The difference between renunciation or to be externally renounced or improper renunciation and work in devotion. That which is done by a Mayavadi sannyasi and a Vaishnava sannyasi. Mayavad sannyasi, their focus is more on renunciation, but Vaishnava sannyasi's focus is on using everything in the service of the Lord. So you can read this chart in your free time when I share the slides in the group. Krishna is not speaking about a variety of paths leading to a variety of inferior or superior destination. Rather, he is describing two aspects of a path, one easy and one difficult, with the same goal. So the goal is the same for both. But Bhakti Yoga, as I said, puts you on the fast track. But the other process is Jnana. It takes you a while. It's going to take you a few more lifetimes, a few million more lifetimes. That's all. So what you want to do, the choice is yours. So we'll end today's session. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Dharma Pranam Mataji and all the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna. Do you
Hare
have any
Krishna.
Hare
Any
Krishna,
comment?
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Jagrati.
Mataji, I have a doubt. So when it is, sometimes we have a family get together and we play games like housey or poker for fun. Is that also considered as a gambling or?
Yeah, there should be no money transactions involved. That's the bottom line.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? So we have, I think, another 10 or 11 days. 20th November is the last day to submit your exam papers. We have received very few submissions. So please take the time out and answer the exam. It's for your own benefit and will lead to purification, of course, as we read today. Okay, then wish you all a very happy Diwali and see you all next
Thank
week.
you.
If so, sanctions.
Happy Diwali to all of you.
Happy
Happy
Diwali.
Diwali.
Hare Krishna, Sanam.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai, Hare Krishna Mataji ki jai.
Hare Krishna, happy Diwali.
Hare Krishna, happy Diwali.
Hare Krishna, happy Diwali to all.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mahek.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Happy Diwali.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Happy Diwali.